Hello everybody, my name is Deadspace. Today I'm going to be running some more T4 Abyss, and actually I was thinking of doing something else from Abyss today, but then Niarja happened. So yesterday I was discussing about that Niarja was getting invaded by Triglavian forces, as you can see here, and when I recorded the video yesterday it was quite late, so I didn't really have much more time to play, otherwise I would have. And I also was thinking of what ship to use if I was going to help fend off the Triglavians. So I woke up today and I was thinking, okay, you know what, I'm going to go and just wreck some Triglavians, but it did not end the way I really wanted it to, because as you can see here, the system of Niarja is already Lowsec within 24 hours, or I think it's just after 24 hours. I'm not exactly sure when it happened, but it was sometime yesterday, so it could be just below or just after 24 hours. So that was a bit unfortunate, because now I have to warp so far to get to Amarr. You can see here, say I want to this. I was just checking out Ravos. This is Ravos, the system that was first to fall but to Triglavian forces, and I have to use the shorter path. I have 13 jumps, and if I have safer path, then it will do 49 jumps, because Ravos is in the near Amarr region. So it's just, you see here, really the trade routes get really messed up here. Well, not trade routes, but just travel routes in general. It's quite annoying. It's quite annoying, and I feel a bit sad, because I wanted to do something about it, and I was ready to do something about it. I actually even have a Macarial. If I go to my mission system, I've got a Macarial, actually, this one here, Big Mac as I call it, and it's actually a missioning ship. But I was planning on today refitting it to be able to fight off Triglavian forces, because the Macarial that I've got there is actually artillery fit, or it can at least use artillery fit, and it does a lot of alpha damage. So that is really good to do those new emerging conduits, where in the hot emerging conduit, you know how emerging conduits are occurring. They're also emerging conduits which you have to destroy in these invaded systems to take over the system, and you got a lot of people doing them, and so you got also a lot of enemies. They're also healing the enemy ships as well. So it's good to have then a ship that does a lot of alpha damage, because then they won't even, and the pro Triglavian forces will not be able to heal the enemy NPCs and the emerging conduits. So that's why I was planning on doing today, or at least I was planning on whooping out my Macarial, just going there and sniping some Triglavian scrub lords. But it didn't seem like that was also going to happen. You know, it's Lowsec now it's just basically a free-for-all. Anyone's going to get blasted straight away. I do not feel like bringing Macarial into Lowsec. It's got quite expensive fittings as well, so it'll be quite a bit of a take a punch on my wallet. But also it's a bit harder, because I mostly play solo. I mean, I do also do with groups, but I don't know any groups, at least that I'm aware of, that work towards fighting off the Triglavian invaders, because I pretty much would need to be in a group to be able to continue doing it in Niarja with the highest Lowsec. Because if I'm just a solo player, I mean, I'll be able to do nothing against the enemy Triglavians, because first of all, Triglavians are going to destroy me the second I go in the system. Second of all, players are going to annihilate me. I wouldn't be surprised if it was completely gate camped in there. In fact, let's check it out. You can see here in Niarja, just stuff is getting blown up all left, right, and center. Just every minute, something is getting blown up. You see here, and Macarial died here as well. Yeah, just stuff is getting blown up left, right, and center. It's complete. It's a bloodbath there. Oh, my drone is taking damage. You can see here, it's taking damage. And it's just something I am a bit annoyed that I didn't even manage to get into. I've been seeing people flaming the Test Alliance. Or one of the leadership of Test Alliance, Villi, who was starting an effort to combat the Triglavians, and I really wanted to help them with that, especially seeing that just before I was going to go to bed last night. I was thinking, okay, I'm going to help out with that in the morning, because I'm in the Brave Alliance, and Brave is allied to the Test Alliance, so I thought it would be really cool to fight alongside them. But the Triglavian forces were too vigilant. They were just way too vigilant. They conquered the system so fast, and honestly, it's not even going to be a long time until it goes into Nullsec as well. So Niarja's security status is reduced to 0.4 from 0.5, and in due time it will eventually go down to minus 1.0, and when that happens, it'll be a lot easier for people to kill each other. you know, people can still kill each other very easily in Lowsec, but if it's in Nullsec, you can't have the carriers. Oh, this is a quite cancer wave actually, because they've got blinding and starvings. The bad thing, or not the bad thing, but the way it works is that when a Triglavian system is invaded, then it makes it so that it's like its security status goes down, but it's not like an actual Lowsec. So it's not like you can use carriers in there or Nullsec. You can't use actual carriers there. I don't even think you can use Sinosaural beacons. But the difference is that it still applies to like how you get like criminal records or whatever. Well, we're taking a lot of damage actually. Let's go. We're taking a lot of capacitor power. Let's go out. Let's take a bit of drones on this guy here. That you see that scary newt wave right there. But it makes it so that, you know how when you attack someone in Lowsec you get like a criminal time or whatever. The thing is, in these new Triglavian systems, if it goes to Nullsec, it's obviously going to be like in Nullsec where you do not take any security status hit. So people are going to go just shoot up people like crazy. They go on murder sprees. Really, it's going to be pretty deadly. And I really want to do stuff there, but I don't exactly know what to do because I can't really run the sites because I'm just going to get sniped. And also, I need to have like a proper group to run them with, or at least a group of people doing them, because I don't think anyone right now in Test Alliance is doing stuff, because I think their objective was to take out or at least conquer it to Edencom forces while it was in Highsec, but I don't hear anything of it while then Nullsec, or while the system is in Lowsec at least. So it just flipped so quickly, and I was a bit surprised with that. See how I was a bit scared with this wave right here, because those were 2 blindings and a bunch of starvings. They just like nuked my capacitor right there. And the thing is, because of the blinding, it's so hard for me to target all of them. That was a bit annoying. Now, I really wonder what's going to next happen now, because the thing is, when it comes to these Triglavian invasions, remember in the Eclipse trailer, we saw that the Stargate turned off. Okay, look here in this video over here. You can see in this Eclipse trailer, the Stargate turns off. So that is something we haven't seen yet. We've seen systems falling to Lowsec and Nullsec. We've not seen them turn off. So I think this has really interesting implications on the game, because it could potentially mean that like actual parts of New Eden can be completely locked off, and the only way to actually get there is through wormhole systems. I think that would be really scary as well. Like, imagine if this Niarja system had the Stargates turned off. That'll basically make it impossible to go between Jita and Amarr unless you take the long route, and or you'd have to go through a wormhole to somehow get towards there, and that would mean even more, because you know you can still kind of go through Niarja. You just have to have like a cloak ship or a really fast aligning ship. Then it's all right. You can still go. You can obviously not. It's basically impractical to travel in massive freighters. But the thing is, if you are traveling in like a really speedy cloak ship, then it's no problem. But if it actually was to get cut off, like in that trailer, you know how Stargates get turned off, then that will be amazing. That will, I don't know, not really amazing. It will be quite scary and also a bit annoying actually, because it'll take me forever to get to the Amarr system from Jita. But I think this is also really interesting as well, because I told you guys before that it will perhaps cause differences in the market. Like, you know how items in Amarr will be cost very different from they are in Jita. And this actually reminds me a bit of the old, how it used to be in EVE Online. Because I was actually watching a podcast yesterday, this Talking in Stations podcast, and they mentioned that in EVE Online, back in the day, many years ago, then only certain ores spawn in certain parts of space. Or empire space, and this created like a specific demand or like specific supply of a type of ore from a certain empire system. Now, as far as I know, everything just spawns everywhere. So if the Triglavians mess with the supply lines, then it's going to potentially, create some kind of dynamic between the empires. Like there's a pros and then there's a cons to being in the Amarr and Jita space. It will probably promote some kind of like having to adapt or having to survive on what you've got, because it'll be very hard to get the items between them, and it'll give a lot it'll drive the price of these freight companies up a lot, because if you want to have inter-trade hub trading, then, but if there's some particular item that's needed between the trade hubs, then you're going to have to go a really long way. And I can imagine all these freight companies like, Red Frog and all these kind of ones, they're gonna have their prices go up a lot when it comes to the Jita and Amarr trade routes. I mean, it's already kind of gonna go up quite a bit, because they have like a setting, or not setting, but like a rule, so that like you pay a certain amount per jump, and obviously there's going to be a lot more jumps now, so the prices are obviously going to go up. This has big implications on not only like the market, but also just moving stuff between those trade hubs. For example, say if you have your jump freighter service that takes your items to the Amarr trade hub, but you want them to end up in the Jita trade hub, so you use perhaps like Red Frog or something, then it's going to be very difficult to get them between them, or at least it's going to be more difficult, because it will just be a real pain it will be. Shoot this spy out of cash over here. There's a lot of sleepers on grid, actually. There's a whole lot of them. Usually there's not that many, actually. Okay, go grab this. And I'm very curious how this will affect Abyssal Dead Space, because Abyssal Dead Space running relies a lot on faction modules, and faction modules, I mean, Kikimora. Faction modules, like you can see here, I'm using Pithum C-type medium shield boosters, and they are very good modules. Obviously, it's basically essential if you want to run the high tier sites, like I'm doing, or at least consistently. You can run Abyssal Dead Space sites, the high tier ones, not so consistently in basic modules. But I wonder how this is going to be, because I can imagine like the Nullsec regions that are connected to the trade hubs, or like that are close to the trade hubs, and that have the certain pirates that spawn that drop these dead space modules. It'll be harder for them to get to all the trade hubs, or at least be different. So that'll be interesting to see how that affects, if it's going to maybe drive up the price of these dead space modules. But then again, maybe it won't, because the thing is, like I see it mostly affecting the bulk items. Obviously the dead space modules, they don't take up much space. There are not so many of them, and it's just like a set few modules, so it's not going to particularly be like hard to transport. You could probably transport in some kind of like a small speedy ship, like my Sunesis. I love my Sunesis. That ship is awesome. You can transport a lot of dead space modules in that, at least in pretty relative safety. Also, something I saw actually on this podcast, Talking in Stations, was that there is probably going to affect also other trade hubs. So for example, Dodixie, Rennes, those other ones, they're probably going to have their prices, or at least be a lot more competitive, because right now, at least the feeling I get is that most people trade between Amarr and Jita, or at least the people around in this area of space. But now the people who live in Jita, who often will go to Amarr and buy stuff, maybe they're, instead of trading with Amarr, they're going to probably trade maybe with Dodixie or Rennes, because it's a lot shorter now. It's really a long way you'll have to go between the trade hubs to be able to actually get there. Let's go to the origin conduit and get out of here. So did we get anything decent here? Nah, not so good. 20 mil. But then you got the Kikimora blueprint, which is actually worth quite a bit. The Kikimora blueprint can go for a pretty penny, but it's still not that great. Didn't get that great. Abyssal loot is just not the same anymore. It feels different. But I see this having big consequences. Niarja has fallen, and it's going to have big consequences if it actually affects people. I've seen people talking about like, oh, you look at who is this noob using a freighter? You use a jump freighter, and that is also a possibility. Like I see lots of people using jump freighters. I'm not a professional trader or professional freighter, but I can still see it affecting a lot of people who trade between the trade houses, because I actually used to trade between Amarr and Jita actually in my early days. Actually in 2016, I remember earning my first 100 million just by trading actually, and between Amarr and Jita, and that was really cool. That was really a cool thing. But now it will basically be almost impossible. So if we look here, I want to actually just check something real quick. How far is it to go to Dodixie? Because Dodixie is another trade hub. The Galente one, it's not as popular as Amarr, it seems like, but you can see here it's a lot closer. It's 15 jumps. How far is Rennes? If we go into Rennes, 25. Okay, it's still a lot closer than the Amarr one. Look here, if we go to Amarr, do you see that? So far away. So it seems like things are gonna get spicy, guys. Things are gonna get spicy. Niarja's fallen. I really wanted to help conquer Niarja, but the Triglavian boys, they were just too fast. They were just too fast. I wake up and the system is already fallen. Like I was about to prepare getting my Macarial to shoot them, but that was unfortunately not the case. And also, you got a bit of loot from this T4 Abyss run. Hope you enjoyed the video, guys. If you enjoyed, please leave a like and subscribe. I'll catch you guys later.